Hey, what's up guys? This is Bailey Stein with Android Authority, and you're watching our video review of the Meizu M3 Note. With the M3 Note, Meizu has replaced the iPhone 5C-like colorful glossy plastic with aluminum. It's implemented quite well too, and the overall design is sharp and assertive. From the seemingly engraved antenna lines to the 2.5T curved front glass, this phone certainly looks and feels premium. The build quality is also excellent, which can't always be said about smartphones in this price category. The power and volume buttons have moved from the left side to the right side with this iteration and are tactile and feel solid. Overall, the phone feels great in the hand with its curved aluminum edges. The single physical button on the front of the M3 Note functions as both a back button when tapped and a home button when pressed. There's also a fingerprint reader embedded, which is fairly fast and accurate. When you want to switch apps, you can simply swipe up from either side of the physical button to access Flyme's multitasking menu. I found this to work very well during my time with the M3 Note, and although it's definitely different from what many are used to, it's a much more intuitive way to interact with your phone. And yes, aspects like the single physical home button do make the M3 Note look like the iPhone. Unless you find the design to be too derivative for your taste though, you'll likely be more than happy with the M3 Note's look and feel. Unfortunately, Meizu has taken a step back by ditching the wonderful IGZO panels found on the M1 Note and M2 Note in favor of a more traditional, average-looking panel. It's still 5.5 inches and 1080p, but it lacks some of the vividness and saturation of the displays found on its predecessors. It's still better than most in this price category, however, with excellent viewing angles and good contrast. Sunlight readability seemed mediocre though, and color reproduction could have been much better. The M3 Note is powered by a MediaTek Helio P10, which could be considered comparable to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 617, and you can purchase the M3 Note with either 2 or 3 GB of RAM. Overall performance is still decent for the price, and although apps are sometimes noticeably slow while loading, performance is otherwise fairly good. The same can't be said when playing higher-end games, however, as the phone can struggle with slow load times and very low frame rates. It seems that the Mali T860 MP2 GPU simply isn't enough to drive these titles, which is truly disappointing, as even the M1 Note had no trouble in this department. The M3 Note is an unlocked dual SIM device, and you can use one of the SIM card slots for a microSD card up to 256 GB if the phone's 16 or 32 GB of internal storage isn't enough. While the M3 Note does support 4G LTE in many countries, those in the US will be limited to HSPA Plus on AT&T and T-Mobile. Call quality seemed to be decent, and although my earpiece sounded fine, callers said they sometimes had difficulty understanding me. Unless you make many calls, however, this is unlikely to be an issue. Meizu has yet to make the transition to USB Type-C in their affordable lineup, and you'll be stuck with micro USB with the M3 Note. This should be good for people who don't want to purchase new cables, but maybe annoying for those who have already made the transition. The single side-firing speaker on the M3 Note is reasonably loud, but moderately distorted, especially at higher volumes. It certainly does the job, but it's not a step up from the M1 Note nor the M2 Note. Battery life was excellent in my testing, as I was able to achieve about 5.5 hours of screen on time with normal use, or about 4.5 with lighter use. The Meizu M3 Note's 13 megapixel rear camera offered average performance for the phone's price. Captured images often lacked detail, were surprisingly soft, and lacked the dynamic range required for higher contrast scenes. And although the accurate color reproduction and appropriate amount of saturation are appreciated, we noticed lots of digital noise which distracted from the overall picture, even in good lighting. In low light, images came out very poorly, which was sort of to be expected at this price point. Autofocus did seem a bit slow too, and sometimes even refused to focus altogether. Overall, the camera here seems to not offer much of an upgrade over the M2 Notes, with the exception of some minor improvements in the camera app. The easy-to-use automatic mode is complemented by a variety of different filters, and the app's manual mode offers a great amount of control for those wishing to delve deeper. The M3 Note is shipping with Meizu's custom Flyme 5 OS on top of Android 5.1 Lollipop. It would have been nice to see Android 6.0 Marshmallow, as it has been out for nearly a year now, but Flyme does do a nice job at substituting features like fingerprint reader support. Although Flyme is a sharp departure from stock Android and could be considered as a glorified spin-off of iOS, it's one of the most well-refined and polished Android skins out there. And with Flyme 5, Meizu has made the experience better by addressing our complaints and making many subtle changes. It was great to see Meizu finally add a settings shortcut in the notification panel and redesign the multitasking menu with beautiful animations. The pre-installed apps are incredibly well designed, and I found myself even enjoying simple apps like the clock and calendar. Although it does not have an app drawer, you can always just download a third-party launcher through the Google Play Store, which is included out of the box on international units. Flyme 5 is easily one of the best Android skins out there, and maybe one of the M3 Note's best aspects. Users can also look forward to future updates, which are sure to only improve the experience further. The M3 Note is 800 yuan in China, or about $120, and can be imported for about $200. In India, it's priced at 10,000 rupees, or about $150. There are multiple models available, as well as different color options, depending on the region. Although the Meizu M3 Note does pack a very large punch with its premium design, excellent battery life, and exceptional software experience, its lack of US availability, poor gaming performance, and unimpressive camera do not help it stand out. Now that Flyme 5 is available in previous iterations too, there's nothing particularly compelling here, with the exception of the new design and the fingerprint reader. If you can do without those added features, you should look at the M2 Note instead, for a bit less. Otherwise, the MX5 is still a great option for just a bit more, and it offers a very similar design, much better AMOLED display, better performance, and a better camera. If you'd rather venture outside of Meizu's product line, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 3 is still the budget phone to beat, and is sold at the same price in many markets, including India. Thank you for watching our video review of the Meizu M3 Note. Please be sure to like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Finally, be sure to visit the Android Authority website for additional coverage, as we are your source for all things Android.